Hey guys, it's Tony back with Biker Magazine and Wood Tramp Outdoors. You've asked about the bike, here it is. Alright guys, welcome back. I get emails every week asking me why don't I talk very much about the motorcycle or motorcycles period. A bunch of questions. So I picked out 6 of them. I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. That I'm going to try to answer for you today. So number 1, what kind of bike is this? This is a 2006 Harley FLSTI, which is a heritage standard. When I purchased the bike, I didn't want all the heritage stuff on here. You know, you can see this isn't anything a heritage classic. All these bags are different and everything, because I knew that I was going to repaint the bike. I knew I was going to turn it into something that looked like it came from 1958-59 era or something like that, an old panhead. So to 2006. Do I ride any other bike? The answer is no. I have in the past, but Harleys have always been my go-to. My wife has a Vespa, a little red Vespa. I think it's 50 cc's that we put around town on, just having fun. But that's the only other motorized bike. We got e-bikes too. Here's one. Why don't I do more motorcycle videos? That's pretty easy here. Number 1, there are thousands of guys out on YouTube and on the internet that are experts on wrenching on a motorcycle. I mean, they cover everything. And even if they're not an expert, you got a bunch of guys out there already doing motorcycle stuff. My thing is introducing motorcyclists to the outdoor world, showing you it can be done, how it's done, those types of things. You know, I love motorcycles, always have. Been on one since I was 6 years old, in some shape or form. Now I'm 63. You just go ahead and do the math right there. And you know, there's no reason for me. The second reason is that I'm living in the shadow of some of the giants in the motorcycle industry that are, you know, you may not know them, like a Carl Pusser. You may have heard of that name before, Pusser. His relative was Buford Pusser from Walking Tall. But Carl is one of the top wrenches in the country. And he lives 10 miles from me here. And he and I are friends. And so I've never had him do an ounce of work for me, because he's the type of guy that I wouldn't take my bike to unless I really needed his services, because he's super busy. And I wouldn't want to load him down with that. So that's why I don't do videos. Everybody else doesn't. What kind of maintenance routine do I use? Well, that's a good question, because a lot of guys just buy these motorcycles and they don't maintain them and can't understand why they don't run right. I have a regiment that I do twice a year, and people think it's overkill, but if you change the oil on this bike, and I've never taken the jugs off, but I guarantee if you took the jugs off and looked at the pistons, they're going to be as clean as could be, and here's why. Every spring and every fall, towards the end of the summer, what I do is, first of all, I change the oil. And I know somebody's going to ask me what type of oil I use. And this is it right here. Since the day this baby came home, I've used 100% synthetic oil. I started out using the Harley oil, but I wasn't real pleased with the performance of the oil. Talked to one of my wrench buddies, Greg Hamilton, and he's been running Amsol, and he does racing bikes, he does stock cars. I mean, the guy knows engines real well, and he studies oils real well. And so he got me to switch over to Amsol probably a year after I had the bike, and I have been super happy with this. This happens to be 10 or 20W50, and it's never failed me. Because I take care of it. The other thing I do, of course, is I change the filter every single time. I also take this Arlen Ness. This is an Arlen Ness Big Sucker Stage 1 filter kit that I put on here. And I clean this out twice a year. and the primary oil. I changed the gasket and the fluid. You know, and it's just, I use the same fluid in my primary as I do in my engine. You can do that with this stuff. I do that once a year. I don't do it twice a year. Another thing that I do is change the plugs. I change the plugs twice a year. And I know you think that's overkill. It don't matter. It's like I said, I've been riding these things for a long time, and they like to be treated right, especially these big V's that get hot in the summertime. Man, they need to be running sharp, and plugs are cheap insurance to make sure that that keeps happening. The other thing that I may do is tighten up the spokes, you know, once a year, something like that. Check all that type of stuff, you know. But really, that's basically the maintenance routine that I do. And as I said, people think it might be overkill, but this dude runs just as fast and as hot and as reliable as it ever did. How do I pack my bike for wilderness riding? First of all, I thought that was a good question, only because it points out something here. I don't do any wilderness riding on any big cruiser like this. And the reason is that dry weight, it weighs about 702, maybe 10. You put me on it, and that's an extra 200, so now we're up to 900 pounds. And typically, if I'm using this as a conveyance, I'll put about 100 pounds worth of gear. So now we're at 1,000 pounds. And when you're talking about wilderness riding, to me, you know, that's going off trail and riding somewhere, and you are an insane idiot if you do that. Not saying that people don't do it. I did crazy shit when I was a kid, that's for sure. But now I'm a little bit smarter, and I am not going to do that because the bike is heavy. My legs are older, you know, my back is older. Everything about me is older, so I have to be a little bit careful about what I do. But what I convey, when I go from this driveway to wherever I'm going around the country, my goal is to get as close to my base camp as possible. And sometimes that's just feet away because, you know, trails are good enough. You know, I will do that. I'll say this. If I get to my destination and there are hard trails, they're not muddy, they're not mucky, they're not loose sand, but they are nice walked on flattened trails, game trails, I'll take that out. You know, I trust those, you know, and I've never been stuck or dropped a bike or anything like that doing that. All right, then the last question, and this is an important one. Do I wear a helmet? Well, you know, to be honest with you, the majority of the time I don't, but I do keep a helmet with me. If it starts raining, I'm going to put a helmet on. And this is the guy right here. This came from Microdot. This is the Microdot blister. This is a little tiny half helmet, you know. I grew up doing some motocross riding as well. I wore a helmet then, full face helmet obviously. But whenever I was riding on the street, never wore a helmet. So what that means is that when I get into a state where I have to put a helmet on, it does feel different on my head. It's a different riding experience, and it can also be a distraction because I'm not used to it as I should be. So, you know, I do keep it here for dangerous situations, nighttime riding. You know, I'll put it on. Just a lot of stuff can happen out there, not because of me or my bad driving, but there's a lot of people out there that don't even see motorcycles. Last year, I happened to be on Route 150 south of here, and a young lady was in the left lane. I was in the right lane. She was on her cell phone up in her right hand, and you know, it's like this piece of paper. She's like this. She couldn't see me in her mirror. She came right over and put me in the ditch. Yeah, we had a conversation, that's for sure. So yeah, wear a helmet, you know, get used to wearing a helmet, and you'll probably live longer and ride longer. So I appreciate the questions, and again, I apologize that I don't do a lot of more motorcycle type questions, especially the maintenance thing. But the situation is that, man, you got thousands of guys out there that got some pretty dope channels, cover some great stuff, maintenance, everything. You don't need me doing that. Man, my thing is being a woods guy. I'm a woodsman. I'm a wood tramp that happens to ride a motorcycle, and everybody that I hang out just about has the same passion as I do. Let's ride out, get out in the woods, enjoy the ride there and back, and enjoy yourself while you're out in the bush. So appreciate you watching, questions and all that. So until next time, you guys ride free, you live free, and always you be safe out there.